Hello, beautiful people. We are here on a Tuesday evening instead of a Wednesday evening. I'm glad I didn't say happy hump day.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, Benson. This week is going to be a little different this week just because we have the Jumanji challenge tomorrow and Thursday. So if you haven't registered for that yet, go ahead and do that at winjumanji.com. It's going to be a great time. It's great for beginner investors, advanced investors, wherever you are. It's definitely going to help your business. Sorry, my son is in the back here whining a little bit. But Benson,
Yes.
today I want to show people how we can, oh no, how we can come up with ARVs so quickly, like you did that
Yeah.
one day on the live.
Well, ARVs are so critical to us and for us so that we can establish what a property is worth in its as is condition. But most importantly, what is that thing going to be worth after it's fixed up? And I think that a lot of people out there, they take ARV for granted. Like it doesn't get the respect that it deserves and the importance of determining value, but also helping us to determine what we should offer. Because if you don't know the ARV of a house or potential ARV of a home, then you can't, it's more difficult to determine what offer to write. And so a lot of this stuff is connected. And so I think like leveraging investor activity, we can more easily demonstrate to people like how to figure out ARV and then doing a little bit of research on what buyers want in a certain area will really easily help you to determine what your offer should be. Everything's connected. And so but it all starts with after repair values.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited about this discussion. It for some it could seem dry, but it's really the foundation of everything that you do. It's whether you're doing wholesale or fix and flip, burr, or if you're doing creative deal structure, like almost all the time we measure how good our deals are based off of a percentage of ARV. And so that's why I think it's really important that we establish an accurate ARV with a core foundational strategy, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, of course. Troy Williamson asks, is this training being recorded? Yes, Troy. You can access it on Jamil's YouTube channel right after we end here under the Lives tab. And guys, go ahead, Benson.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know this is one of the last days you can take advantage of the code DAMG5. This is how you can use all of these strategies that we're going to show you today for 30% off. So, if I were you, I would definitely take advantage of that. I took advantage of mine. I'm grandfathered in. I'm super happy and grateful because my fiance uses this tool in his business every single day. So I will drop the link in the chat for you guys, and you can go ahead and get locked in.
Awesome. Yeah, and so that pricing is really the key there, right? So it's going to be 814 bucks. This is the last chance you're going to be able to get that pricing. Um, and on in this time as well, you guys, and I got that thing from you before, Emily, and we should have clarified this. It's just the pricing. Like it is, we're so close to this coming to an end that the marketing team is even stopping the bonuses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you really have this last opportunity to get this grandfathered pricing. After that, they're really going to change just how the pricing structure works, being um, more balanced, I think is what they're trying to call it. And so, again, lock that in as soon as you can because till tomorrow, after tomorrow, it's gone.
Dang. Dang, Benson. I miss the days when you were running it all. No.
Yeah, well, that's when we weren't as big as we are, and so we needed to bring in professionals from like that have these backgrounds and with large companies, and they've been there, done that. Where your little privy is growing up.
I love it. I love it. All right,
Awesome.
let's get into it.
Yeah, you guys. So some of this is going to sound repetitive, but I think for many people, you have to hear and see things many times before it clicks. And I'm really hoping that you can get that aha moment to help you understand just how fundamentally important using investor activity is to your business. Right.
Mhm,
So the majority of the people here, we're looking at wholesaling, right? There's going to be that's most of our strategy. But the cool thing is that when you are looking for, as you start to scale your business, either to do more deals, or you start to transition into maybe doing your own fix and flips, or you're going to go and you're going to start acquiring properties to put in your portfolio. Um, you're still going to want to measure your deals based off of ARV because that's how you get the most value out of them. So again, the only way you can prove after repair value on a house that you're evaluating is that if it's in the same area where flips are happening, and not only just in the same area, but the the property that you are evaluating has to have comps that were flipped. So
mm.
this is very intentionally, guys. I can't emphasize enough how important it is that if you are going to take this business seriously, you really have to focus in on high investor activity areas. Can you come up with a number of a property, an estimated value of a home in an area where there's low investor activity? You can, but here's the thing: eventually, an appraiser is going to get their hands on this thing. It may not be your appraiser, but if you think about that, your buyers are thinking about what their appraiser is going to be using to evaluate their properties. So, and an appraiser, when they're trying to determine after repair value in a property, if they don't have comps that were flipped, they have to use unrenovated houses as part of that appraisal. And guess what happens? That value gets squashed. So they do factor in like an estimated cost of construction, but they can't give you the maximum amount of the value of a house that you're evaluating if you don't have those renovated comps as part of the comp set. So the strategy is you go to where these high investor activity areas are located, and that's where you see the blue, right? So wherever you see blue is where those deals are happening. The more deals, the more data there is for you to be able to prove ARV to your buyer, and then a buyer's thinking, well, I can use that same data to prove ARV to the appraiser that's eventually going to be analyzing the ultimate value of that property, right?
Do you wanna go ahead and, share your screen for me?
Hmm. Absolutely. So that's how important this all is. So if I go ahead and I just go to present.
Facebook user said, "Is the cash buyers list still included? I just paid my monthly subscription. Will that not be applied?" The bonuses are only with included in with the annual, correct?
Um, Not after tomorrow, they're not. So if you're monthly, you won't get any bonuses. If you get in on this last special, this is your last chance to get those bonuses. If you paid your monthly subscription, that amount will be prorated to the annual plan. So for if it's 814, you basically take 814 and it would subtract out what you just paid. It's 97 bucks. And then whatever that balance is what the payment would be. And then you'll be grandfathered in at your anniversary next year. It'll be 814 bucks. But the payment that you'll pay if you upgrade today will be 814 minus 97. So right around 810, something like that. I'm
Oh,
sorry, 710. So yeah, it's all prorated. You just got to go into billing on the left over here. So you can go into billing, click that, and then you come in here. And mine looks different because this is an admin account, but there will be a thing that says upgrade to annual, and then a place to put in your promo code. Just put the promo code DAMG5 in there, and then click update price. It will update the price, and then we'll be able to just charge the difference. Okay. Now,
awesome.
now back to the investor activity. When you're looking at it on a nationwide basis, you're going to see where all the blue is. The higher the number, the larger the circles, the more investor activity there is. So some areas are really easy to understand that you should completely avoid. Like, it's where a lot of people don't live, right? It's going to be most of the northern states, a lot of the states that have deserts like Nevada and Utah, Arizona, parts of New Mexico, You know, parts of Texas, Kansas, where there's a lot of plains and farmland. Like those are areas that you're going to want to avoid,
Mhm.
right? And that just makes good sense, right, Emily? It's like it's kind of like common sense.
What, you don't think cows are investing?
Not yet, but with AI, who knows what's possible?
Uh,
I mean, for a long time, you'd see them all over those billboards, telling us to eat chicken.
Yeah, eat more chicken. They might be like, "Sell me your houses."
Yeah. You don't see those as often anymore. That's weird. I forgot about those.
Well,
People
I
must
feel
have
like
got.
Chick-fil-A just got so big, they don't even need to market anymore.
Oh, I know. You're probably right. Now they have all those, feel good commercials where people go in and they do baby reveals and then I don't even know.
Their commercials are actually really cute.
Yeah, they're heartwarming.
Yeah.
Um, so back to where you're looking at, you guys. So see where these big blue circles are at. So like it's normally right around major cities, right? Again, which makes sense. But you can still see that like even like a city like Denver has 1607. That's not nearly as good as some of the markets in the Midwest, but it's way better than like Albuquerque, right? I know that we've got some people who live in the Albuquerque area, but I would definitely want to do something that's remote. Phoenix it has a lot of investor activity. Oklahoma City has a decent amount, but it's not a considerable amount. Dallas Fort Worth is really hot. Houston, those are both hotter than Austin and San Antonio.
Luis in the chat said, "Anyone having luck in Camden, New Jersey? What is Camden, New Jersey looking like?"
I doubt it has much, um, but in New Jersey, you're probably going to be getting close to New York is where you're going to see the most activity.
Yeah.
Um, but like if we go down here, let's see, Philadelphia. Here's Trenton. Camden's going to be up in this area right here. Not a ton,
Yeah.
right? So if I was in your area, Luis, I would be probably looking more about at Philadelphia, um, or Baltimore, DC.
Yeah, weren't we looking in Philadelphia with Victor? And man, there was a lot of really good deals. A
Oh
lot.
yeah. Well, look at these numbers, right? So like these high numbers here is what is really going to help us determine that value.
Mhm.
So Philadelphia is one where you should definitely consider it, and then it's going to be specific neighborhoods. So as we get closer to Philly, these clusters break up, and then we'll get to see which neighborhood. So 156 there in South Philly, and then this 145 is going to break up too. And so there's a pocket right up here which would be worthy of spending a lot of your time and your money, and then right in here in South Philly would also be where you'd probably want to, if you were going to choose between these two, would be right in here. So the more investor activity, the better. And this data also, you guys, will help you learn that market. So a lot of people don't target high investor activity areas because some of those areas are not where they live, and so they have to have that balancing act about, well, I'm newer, so it's going to be easier for me to get a deal if I look where I live. And I don't think there's a lot of data that says that's true. Really, the data that you need to be able to execute your whole strategy is going to be in these high investor activity areas. So I would try to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable by looking at areas where that investor activity is located, because that will help you learn the market. Um, so right in here, right, every one of these properties is a house that has been flipped or has data that looks like it's been flipped, because sometimes it's a house that just like had some crazy appreciation. And there's not really a flag, or there's not any sort of a tag that you'll see in MLS data or in county record data that tells you that a house has definitively been flipped. What we look at is we look at a property that has two transactions and they bought it lower than 75% of the ARV. So, in some markets, this could be a lot higher, like in California, in, those high priced areas, like people are going way higher than 75. In areas like this, you're not going to see as many deals that are 75% or 70. You're going to see more in like the 60% and lower range. And that's all information that you can determine by looking at this activity and getting a real good understanding of what's happening there. So when we were talking earlier, Emily, I was telling you about a four-star comp. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you're thinking about where you should be looking for deals, you want to think about, if I find a deal in a certain area, am I going to be able to prove after repair value on it
Yeah.
to my buyers or to an appraiser? If you think ahead, right, this is that reverse REI strategy, then you'll be intentional about making sure you're looking for properties in areas like this. And then you'll be able to find what I call a four-star comp. So there's 4 stars in this strategy. The most important part, or the most important star in that list, is the house needs to have been flipped, right? So the investor activity solves that very first problem, which is you need renovated homes to be able to prove after repair value on your unrenovated house. The second thing is time. The more recent that property closed, the more relevant that comp is. So I tell people the four-star comp is the house was fixed and flipped and it closed yesterday. That's the second star. The third star is proximity. So you got close in time and then you got close in distance. So you want that house to be right next door. So the first 3 stars is the house was fixed and flipped, it's sold yesterday, and it's right next door. Okay. So if
Mhm.
you get those 3 stars to match, and then you got the fourth star, which is it's the exact same house as yours. So exact same number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, stories. It's the same property type, property style. If it's a mirror image of your house, then that whatever that house sold for is your ARV. It doesn't have to get any more complicated than that. Now here's the problem. That never happens. Right? A four-star comp is almost like those unicorn deals you just hear about. It's fantasy land. In real estate, you're never going to have all 4 of those stars to be true. And if you do, tell me about it because I'd love to hear about these 4-star comps because it's really like what's the optimal comp you need, right? Fix and flipped, closed yesterday, right next door to yours, and has the exact same property characteristics. If you can get those 4 things to be true, then it's really easy for you to determine ARV. The most important piece of that is that you want that renovated house, and after investor activity will put you in the same neighborhood as where those renovated homes are located. Then if you're intentional about like making sure you're using this, and you can actually circle this area using the drawing tool. So what this is going to help me do is it's going to help me make sure that if I find any properties, then the chances of that house being right next door go up, right? So you have way more control about you being able to prove ARV. Most of the time, what you're going to do, I know you guys are all here listening to this, and I know this is going to ring true, is that somebody sends out a lead, right? Oh boy, let's go comp that property out, and you don't know where it's located. You don't know if it's in a high investor activity area. If you do that, you're wasting your time. You literally are just wasting your time. So don't look at any property that's not in your core area. Your core area can be defined by just drawing something on the map, or if you are pulling lists, maybe not from Privy, or if you are getting help from somebody else, then be specific about zip codes. But even zip codes can cross from a high investor activity area to a low investor activity area. So that's why I like drawing on the map. But if I was going to build a list of zip codes, then I would circle my area and then I would go and I would just sample. So it's okay. This is 19146. 19146, 19145. So I got 2 zip codes now. 19148, 3 zip codes.
So you can pull a list in just the area that you circled.
Absolutely.
Wow.
But what this does right here where I'm sampling is I'm basically going to figure out like there's 5 zip codes that I want to target.
Yeah.
But if you use zip codes, which you can in Privy, like you can go right in here and you can type in 19147, 19148. So if you want to search by zip code, you just put multiple zip codes in here separated by commas.
Mhm.
But you can accomplish that exact same thing by not putting zip codes in and just circling it. And then now if 19148 if you maybe you cross over this road here, and this is still 19148, but there's no investor activity down here, well, then you'll avoid pulling properties from this zip code that has half of it in a high investor activity area and half of it that's not. So that's why I like just using the drawing tool.
That's a
Okay, so that will help to ensure that the properties that you're finding that are in an area where you can increase the chances that the flipped house is next door. All right. The next thing is we use a 12-month time period here. So you can actually come over here and you can change the time period. It doesn't have to be 12 months. We can shorten this time. Maybe we say past 6 months. So right now let's see how many houses are in this zone. There's 153 houses. If I change this to the past 6 months, it drops down to 79. So it went about half. So now we got these comps here that we got rid of houses that we probably wouldn't use as comps anyway. Now, it's still going to be in the same area, right? We're still in the same area, but now we're looking at houses that flipped within the last 6 months.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so
these are all super active buyers too.
you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So this strategy is going to serve dual purpose. It's going to help you put yourself in the best situation to be able to find data that you can use to prove ARV, as well as there's a buyer attached to every single one of these homes. So
Mhm.
I could literally come in here and click download, and I can export these 80 properties into a CSV file. And now those are all potential buyers. And you can go in, you can do your normal strategy with those. We're not talking about getting buyers today. We've been many times before, and there's videos all over Jamil's channel about, looking at fix and flips and then going to the public record section. Actually, let me just show you real quick. You open up the comparative market analysis, right? This is how you can do it on a one-off fashion, which I actually like to do this manually on a one-by-one basis, because I'm not only just looking at who the buyer is, but what it is they want, right? Because this house is an example of a house that fits their buying criteria or their buy box. So I can come in and be like, okay, well, they like 784 square foot row home in Philadelphia, 19146.
Rachel B asked, "Is the preview promotion over today or tomorrow?" Rachel, it's officially over tomorrow.
Hmm.
MG5 will no longer work after tomorrow.
That is correct. So you get some time there. So this one here, this is someone who doesn't necessarily want to be found, but because this thing closed so recently, the owner of this property is the flipper. So they named it, the same property address. Right? If you look at the property history here, this is how they bought it. That's interesting. I wonder how they knew. Maybe they formed the LLC like the same day they were going to buy it.
They made the LLC the address?
Yeah.
Wow. They're quick on it.
Yeah. Well, typically, like you'll see that if they kind of keep it as a rental, but they sold that just a couple days ago. So what's going to happen is once this is recorded at the county, it'll say that 1331 South Myrtlewood Street was the seller and then someone else was the buyer.
Hmm.
Um, but in any case, that's what you're going to be doing. So you're looking for the buyers here um, to be able to build your buyers list, and that's a discussion for another day. Well, depending upon time, we may have to see how the time plays out. But then we have the other star, right? So fix and flipped, closed yesterday, right? We just shortened that timeline to 6 months. Right next door, we use the drawing tool, right? And then we want the exact same number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage. Now, if you come in here, our comping algorithm is already using some tolerances on making sure that the properties that we're showing you as comps are within a reasonable tolerance. So proximity, right? We use a half a mile here, so all of the comps are going to be within a half a mile of the subject property. Subject property is the one that's inverted. So right here, it'll be like this is since one's sold, it's the white one with the red outline. And then these comps here are all within half a mile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the ones that are closest here, the ones that sold that are closest are the ones that are going to be more relevant. So this one here is more relevant than this one.
So are you telling me the software pulled everything in a half a mile that's already similar to my subject?
That's what I'm telling you.
Wow. That makes it so easy.
Yeah, so these are all of the comparables. Now, there's more activity in this zone, you guys, than what we're showing. But that's the beauty of Privy is the comping algorithm is already doing that heavy lifting for you. So right below the map over here on the left, when I click settings, it opens up this, and then if I click all
Mm-hmm.
and click save, this is going to remove the comping algorithm, and it's going to show you everything that's in that zone. And then you can see here, it's just a massive amount of properties here.
Wow.
So we hid the majority of that because it wasn't similar enough. So see how our house is 784 square feet. That's a pretty small house.
Yeah.
But when we come in here and we look at some of the other solds, you can see here that some of the like these square footages like are just way too big, right? So that's why we hid those on that first pass. And so the algorithm again is helping to make sure that we're matching up like properties, right? So that's going to check that fourth box on the 4-star comps, and you can dial it even further. So if you wanted to, because we allow variances in bedrooms and bathrooms, you can actually come in here. This is a 2-2. You can match it up so it's only 2 bedrooms and 2 baths if you want to, right? That's again, you want it to be the exact same. So we give you the flexibility to use a tolerance like an appraiser would, because an appraiser allows for tolerances. They don't for if they were to only use the exact same houses as yours, then they wouldn't have comps, right? That's just not realistic. So this is why when an appraiser is doing an appraisal, they allow for a tolerance of, in most areas it's plus or minus like 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. But if there's stuff that's the exact same, they'll use those first. So you start off with what you think is the most similar, and if you don't have enough data there to use, then you loosen it up a little bit. You loosen up the criteria, and then you can say, okay, well, we don't have any exactly 2-bedroom, 2 baths. Well, let's see if there's any 3-bedroom, 2 baths. And if
Yeah.
there is, then you use those. If
Yeah.
there's
And then from there, you go ahead and make your adjustments.
exactly. So the adjustments is that next conversation,
Yeah.
which isn't real black and white. There is some gray area there, and there's a little bit of research that you have to do to figure out how to make those adjustments. So, for example, um, what you're going to want to do first is make sure your the square foot tolerance is within between 15 and 20%, right? In some of these cities like Philadelphia, we even make it smaller because there's so much data here that we can even get even more tight on the square foot tolerance, all the way down to 10%, because in neighborhoods like this, like when there's a lot of row homes, like it's all the same houses. They're just, and then they're all just stacked up together. So it's really easy to comp out properties and determine ARV in busy cities like Philadelphia. The more rural you go, where there's less activity and there's the homes are more spread out, and there's not as much homogeneity. I think that's the word, homogeneous. Uh, Homogeny. What's the word I'm looking for? Somebody put it in the chat.
I have no idea to be.
When something's homogeneous, that means it's the same, right? So there's a play on there on the word I'm looking for, but I don't know what it is. I think I just made up 3 words. You want them to be the same, right? Um, so when you're into the city, it's easier to do. So this is why we tell you guys to avoid rural areas. And coincidentally, in rural areas, there's not a lot of investor activities. That doesn't happen by accident, right? It investor activity does typically have higher volume in busier cities around the city centers. The further you go out from the city center, the less investor activity is. That's not an accident. So
Will W said you said it right the second time.
which one was that?
Homogeneity. I don't know.
Okay. Thanks, team. um, so this is the strategy here, right? So again, hopefully this is really kind of hitting home where comping for most people is an afterthought, where it should be if you target high investor activity areas, you're increasing the chances you're going to have those 4-star comps, and then proving ARV on the house you're evaluating becomes exponentially more simple, right? And you have a lot of control over that. So don't look in those low investor activity areas.
Yep.
Again, we've all been in that area at that time where we got a lead, somebody sends it, and we don't have any deal flow. So what do? We go evaluate it because it's like that's the only thing we got on our desk at that point. So we figure, well, we might as well evaluate it. But the next thing you know, it's like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours later, you're still trying to figure out what that thing is worth
Yep.
because we weren't intentional about making sure we're only analyzing houses that are in the high investor activity areas. But you can increase that by if you talk to people and they're going to send you deals, make sure you use zip codes to guide them. Okay, if you're going to send me a deal, it has to be in these 5 zip codes: 19146, 19147, 19148, right? Give them those zip codes. That way you're going to increase the chances that even if you get deals from others, that they're in the right zones. Okay.
Yep.
And then if someone sends you a property that you want to run comps on, then you can do that by entering the address right in here to the search bar. You just start to type that property address in. And what it does, it's doing an auto match. So you want to make sure you find that in the drop down before you just cut and paste it and then hit enter. You really want to make sure, because this is what we're using to match it up with Google, with a Google housing database. So Google housing database is something that we subscribe to, and then we match up our data. And so when you type that address in, this what does, it's called geocoding. It's what helps to make sure that the address that you put in is a legitimate address, and then we can match it up with what we have in Privy, and then we can match it up so that if that house is in our county record database and say it hasn't sold yet, it was off market, or if it's an on market property, we'll be able to match that up with what the Google housing database is. And that's the way you do that, is by typing this in. You can also cut and paste. It's just that make sure you select it off the drop down. Okay. So that's there for you as well. You can upload a list of properties you want to analyze. Again, make sure that list comes from your specific high investor activity zip codes. And you're going to come into lists, and there's a little button right here that says upload. And there's a video in the Learning Center that tells you how to use the bulk upload feature. But in general, you're just going to click upload. We get a little pop-up, and there's going to be a thing right here for sample CSV. So if I click that sample CSV, this is going to drop down. It's going to export it. And I open this up, it's just going to be an address, right? So it's city, it's street, city, state, zip. That's the only thing you need. You can have additional columns here, but all you need is this. So it has to match up in the same format. So for some reason you have the address all in one line, you have to figure out how to break it up into its specific sections.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a process to that too, where you can do data, and you can actually oh, text to columns. So this right here, there's probably a bunch of tutorials out there like that. But if you get a spreadsheet where everything's in one field, you have to break it up, and you're going to use the text to columns feature that Excel has. So does Google Sheets. So it takes all the text in there, and it will say, well, how do you want to break it up? And typically it's either spaces or commas, and that will break it up, and it'll put, if the address was all in one field, and it'll put it into separate columns so that you, our system can read it. And that's not a Privy thing. That's just most databases do that, where you have to have it in separate columns. But this is where you have to match it. And once it's matched, you can upload it to Privy by choose file. You pick that file off of your computer, click and go to upload it, and it'll help you. It'll ask you to name that list and just give it a name, something that's relevant to you, and it will actually create its own section like these. So I know there's one in here that I did. It was an upload, but it creates your own list and it'll show you the number of properties here.
Nice. So Benson,
Hmm.
if you were in your market, you're hitting your KPIs for the day, building your list on what you're going to call on, and you find one you're interested in, how long do you think it would take you to find ARV to know what you're going to offer?
Um, well, the ARV, again, if you're in a high investor activity area, so let's actually do this. So we're going to go deals. And so this is going to show us that fix and flip activity on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to find a property here, find similar active deals, this is our part of our proprietary deal finding algorithm. It's going to go and it's going to look for properties that are in this zone that are similar to these houses here. So find similar active deals. And this now is showing us a handful of properties that could be deals based off of our algorithm. So let's lower the percentage because the default percentage is 75%. In Philly, if we had gone in and done a little bit more market research, we would have found that most buyers in this area are buying anywhere from 60 to 65%.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and lower this to 60%, right? And I'm only looking in this zone, right? So now I'm increasing the chances I'm going to be able to find that 4-star comp. So I go ahead and I click run. Okay, so let's look at this and let's look at some of the results here. So I want to find something that looks like it needs some work, right? So we found some properties here. This one right here for 199. Okay, it's a
Okay, a
3-2.
lot of privy preferred popping up.
Yeah, and that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Emily, because Privy Preferred is actually going to help you to better identify a property that will make more sense for you comp wise. Because
Yeah.
when you scroll down into the comp section, we're looking for houses like this that have before and after. So when we can find a house that was purchased, fixed up, and then we have a second price here, then that matches one of those starred one of our stars, right? One of the 4 stars that you're looking for, the 4 criteria, is that you want flips. So that's what that helps us do. And this one wasn't sold yet, so it's not the perfect star because we want sold yesterday. This is active and flip. So this is a little further away than what we want. So this one would be a property that if we can, well, it's been on the market for 57 days. Let's sort by distance here. So it's super close. Man, that one is like once it sells, that's going to be almost like a 4-star comp because look how close it is. 1751 South Chadwick, 1718 South Chadwick. It's right down the way at 0.05 miles. It's only one difference of a bathroom.
Wow.
Now, you mentioned earlier, Emily, about adjustments.
Yep.
So the goal is to make your house that you're evaluating just like the comps, right? So this is a 3-1. Once it sells, then oh man, I wish we had a different one. Let's actually find another property.
Yeah, guys, and I will drop the link to Jamil's appraisal rules in the chat if you want more clarity on how to adjust if there's an extra bed, if there's an extra bath, or if one has a pool. Those appraisal rules will have all of that broken down for you. It's super helpful to have while you're comping.
Okay, so this one's a good
And
one to look at.
lots of blue there.
Lots, 54. So there's 54 properties here, you guys, that tell us this thing has a percentage of ARV that's lower than 60%. So you guys remember my filter here? I put in 60% in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that this house right here was flagged as privy preferred. It's privy preferred because it has at least one comp that was flipped. That's one of the 4 stars. And there's 54 properties that have prices that say this thing has a percentage of ARV lower than 60%. Now, you don't have to know how to do this math, but I want to show you kind of what Privy's doing for you automatically. So see these percentages here in this percent ARV column? It's going in, it's doing the math for us. So that's based it off the asking price of the home, which is 140,000. If we divide that by 0.6, then that gives us 233. So 233,333 is the minimum price threshold that we have to have comps over price-wise for that percentage to be lower than 60%. So you can see here, like for 345, that's 41. So if we divide 345, that's about $100,000 more than this, then that will equal 41%. So we have 54 properties where that's the case. Now, is there anybody there that doesn't get that? It's really important that you understand that piece of it. This is how we're identifying opportunities.
Yeah.
We'll flag a property as a deal for you if there's only one where the percentage is lower than 60%, if there's just one, right? Because we're basing it off of asking price. So if there's 54 of them that says it's a deal at asking price, then that data is overwhelming that this thing is worth going after. And then this house right here is going to be a house that is going to start to look like one of our 4-star comps, right? So it's only 0.14 miles away, right? That's really close. It was flipped, right? That's right away. We have that star. It was flipped. It sold recently, so 328. That's a reasonable amount. That's 60 days, right? 60 days. We wanted it to sell yesterday, but proximity is more important than when that property sold, as long as it's within a reasonable time period. You want to try to stay within 3 months right now, if you can. You can go past 3 months if you have a lack of data. But in a city like Philadelphia, there's so much data that's available, and there's a lot of fix and flip activity. So you really don't want to loosen your comp criteria too much, unless absolutely necessary. So this property, this comp right here is starting to look more and more like a 4-star comp.
Hey, Benson, we're
Mhm.
getting quite a few people in the chat that want us to go over that again one more time.
Yes. So the asking price of this house is 140.
Yep.
Okay. So we need comps that where we run the math that will give us the percentage of ARV lower than 60%, because the 60% is based off what I know buyers want in this market. So I've done research in the market before. You'd go back, you'd look at a bunch of the fixed and flipped properties that were closed recently, and you'd go down to this section that shows the right here. Let's just open this one up right here. What do you think of that green door?
Not my favorite.
Yeah, it looks like they went to Home Depot and they went to that section where if people don't pick up the paint, they're like, yeah, we'll just take that gallon of green paint.
Well, you know what's funny? Greg, my fiance, I sent him to Lowe's by himself, and he actually did come back with some pumpkin orange paint, a pint of it, because he wanted to paint the front door orange.
Uh-oh.
And
What
I
did
was
you
like,
do?
I told him, no way. I said it would work if the house was darker, right? But the house is like a nice light pastel green, like a mint, a
Mm.
very, pastel mint. And then it has white as well. So I'm like, it's gonna look like a Easter basket house. You can't have an orange door.
Well, it's a good thing he probably only paid like $5 for that pint.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't get a gallon.
Did he actually have them make it, or was it just on a shelf like someone forgot it?
Oh yeah, no, he had to make it and everything.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll use it in the future. Who knows what we'll paint orange.
I like how you set that up. You're saying I sent him to Home Depot by himself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I knew as soon as you said that there was a story there coming.
All
All
right.
right, you guys. So here's that proper. So here's the flipped comp. Okay, this is the one that's starting to
Yes.
look like a 4-star comp. So right over here on the left, you can see that it was flipped. Right. We have the before. They bought it for 145,000. You can see, what kind of condition it was in. as much as it's nice to see that a house, what it looked like before and what they bought it for, do not think that because they got theirs for 51% that you have to be able to get yours for exactly 51% or lower either. This is just someone who got a good deal. So you want to figure out by researching multiple properties kind of what the average maximum is. That's just why I picked 60%. So you don't want to come in and be like, well, they got theirs for 51, so I'm going to write my for 51. That's not really how it works. If they got theirs for 2%, it doesn't mean that you can get yours for 2. If they got
Yeah.
it for free, it doesn't mean you can get yours for free. It's kind of that part of that market research. You're going to want to figure out where the max is, and then you want to find properties below that. So 51%, they got it for 145, they sold it for 285. So they probably could have got 290 for it if they had painted that door differently. But
Maybe if they did it orange, 290.
yeah, exactly. So here's the renovation. You can see they staged it. You can see what kind of materials they use, what kind of paint selection. You can get an idea of where the bar has been set for that neighborhood. All good market research.
Did you see that blue oven and blue microwave?
That's probably the protective film, or not.
I think this investor likes pop of color.
Oh, it's see how it's peeling off right here.
Okay, I was gonna say, wow, that was a bold move as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the perfect protective film.
Okay, I'll stop interrupting, guys. Sorry.
No, no. I actually, because sometimes you see stuff looks like right here. Look, we got blue cabinets. Right,
Yeah.
like they went and they painted those like a dark blue. And then this door's a light blue. So it wouldn't have actually surprised me. And then that would have matched this picture too. Um, Interesting. So this property, guys, is looking more and more like a 4-star comp.
Yep.
Fix and flipped, sold within the last 2 months. It's 0.14 miles away. The next thing is it a mirror image of our house? Now we know it's already a comp because the algorithm is showing it as a comp. Our house is a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. This is a 3-bedroom, 2 bath. So this is where we come in to making adjustments, Emily, right?
Yep.
So the first question is can we put another bathroom in our property? That's what you would really want to try to do first, because instead of, you know, chopping yourself at the knees and just saying, "Oh, well, you know, it's only the ARV is going to be, lower than this because we can't put a bathroom." You always want to try to like sell, and Jamil does this all the time. He's like, find that best comp and sell that. Like this is a
Yeah.
sales position. You want to sell your highest comp. Don't
Mhm.
don't don't negotiate with yourself out of the gates. So find the highest one in the area and say that's what I'm shooting for. If you do this kind of renovation, if you do this kind of paint, and you do this kind of maybe it's luxury, whatever, then this is the ARV. So you want to convince them that that's the exit strategy. You should also try to convince them that's in their best interest to put a bathroom in there. So don't go in and automatically just subtract out the value out of a bathroom out of this. When you go to market it, say, and you want to have some information about this, say that, with this similar square feet, they're both 1120, right? Look at this. They're exactly the same number of 1120. So this bathroom, this is probably added, and they probably stuck it in the basement. So what I would sell is that you can put another bathroom in this house because it's the same number of square feet. It's the same model, right? It's almost the exact same house. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't come out of the gates and say, okay, we're automatically going to subtract out the value of the bathroom. But that's what you would do if you're making an adjustment. If they come in, they say, well, you know what, we can't get another bathroom in this house, which they probably can because it's the same number of square feet. Then you're going to try to the way you make an adjustment is by taking the ARV and you subtract out the value of a bathroom. Now, that isn't something that's standard. Like the value of a bathroom in Philadelphia is not the same as a value of a bathroom in Beverly Hills, California. In Beverly Hills, it might be 50 grand. Here, it's probably only like 10 to 15,000.
Yeah.
The way you can learn that, you guys, is by comparing two sold properties in the same area. if you can find one here that's a 3-1, this is a 3-2, and then this one's a 3-3. Well, this one has one extra bathroom than this one, so and there's a $15,000 difference. So right away, I'm like, well, that bathroom's worth 15 grand in this area. It's not always going to be that simple. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit more, but this is the easiest way, is just to look at the data. So we found a 3-3. The only difference is that it has an additional bathroom. It's actually a little bit, 30 square foot larger, which is a nominal amount. You wouldn't make any sort of adjustment off of 30 square feet. So $15,000 is what a bathroom is worth in this neighborhood. So if I just could not convince my buyer that to put another bathroom in there, and they should do that, because you can put a new bathroom in there for like 5 grand and then you get $15,000 worth of value out of it.
Yeah.
Then the adjusted after repair value on this house would be 260. So 285 minus 15,000. All right. Now back to the numbers here. Well, I had a tangent for some reason. But 140,000 divided by 0.6, right? That's the number I used when I did the search initially, gives us this amount, 233. So one way to look at this is, if we look at this house that's for sale for 140, if there were no comps that had price over 233, then this house would not have been flagged as a match to be in a potential deal. But because I had at least one, we flagged it as something that you should look at, meaning flagging it means we just show it as part of the results. There isn't anything else that we do to it. If it shows up in the results, that means we flagged it. So this property has at least one house that has a price over 233. And then when we look in the blue area, we're going to see how many of those we have. There's 54 that have prices over 233,000. So if we come out here, if we looked at all these prices are over 233. Now this one is just barely over 233. And as you can see here, when they do the math, it's 60%. So this is going to be the lowest price that we would see in this data set, because if this goes to 61%, then this property wouldn't be in the blue section. It would be over here in one of these other sections. It's only in the blue because when we did the math for you, the price was higher than 233, and then hence when the math was done, that percentage in this column was 60% or lower. So we want at least one. The more blue you have, the more data that says it's a deal.
Yep. Michelle Rice had asked earlier if she could lock it up at list price. And the answer is no, because you want to be able to bring it to your buyer at a discount so they have value from buying it from you, rather than just waiting till you fall out of contract and just getting it right off the MLS. Unless you have like a really great buyer relationship, that's probably the only time you can do that. But yeah.
I would agree. So 140 at asking price, if the ARV, if we can get them to agree that it's 285, and we've got buyers, and that would put this at 49% without making an adjustment, right? We're getting another bathroom in there. Then it's really about the relationship with that buyer. If they know you know how to run your numbers, and you went in, and I mean, this is almost this isn't same square footage. You put another bathroom in there, all of a sudden this is a 4-star comp, right? Because it's the
Mhm.
same house. So you want more of these. One isn't going to be sufficient enough, even though I can sell a house with one really good comp that's been flipped. I know Jamil can do it too. But the more you have, the better. So this one down here is only 0.28 miles away. It's on the exact same square foot lot. It's 30 square foot larger, but it has 2 additional bathrooms. So the question is, well, could we get to stick 2 more bathrooms in there? That might be pushing it, but I know we can get at least one. So then we would subtract out the value there, and now we're at 285. So with these two comps right here, you guys, it's really easy to prove ARV in this house. And
Yeah.
that only happened because we started off at the very top and we said, okay, where's the high investor activity? We're going to go look for deals in those neighborhoods. Then it increases the chances that we have the 4-star comps. We take those 4-star comps. We look at, possibly making some adjustments. And then if we can get this property under contract, we can go to our buyers and they're going to be like, the ARV is 285. Like there isn't anything they can say about that. Right?
Yeah. Mallow Scott asked, is this software only for on-market leads or will it offer and show off-market leads as well?
It shows everything. Every house that's not on market is off market. So every house that's in this area that's not for sale is off market.
Yep.
And we know about all those too. So you can export lists if you want. If you're looking for motivation, then you can pull lists of foreclosures, vacant properties, zombie properties, tired landlords, senior owners, absentee owners, interfamily transfers. Those are like inherited properties. Um, and then, but again, you would only pull a list of off market properties in this zone, right?
Of investor activity.
Of investor activity. The strategy here that we're doing, and we're just looking at on market because they're the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But that person who just asked that, like, you're looking for motivated sellers, right? Well, this is the best motivated seller. They already raised their hand and said they want to sell the house. We know the house needs work. We know we've got 4-star comps. Why would I go spend a single dollar of marketing looking for deals when I can just write offers on stuff like this every day that matches the criteria of what I know buyers are willing to buy? I got all the data I need to be able to prove ARV. All I have to do is be able to get this thing locked up before anybody else. Because there's a limited amount of deals that are out there, you guys. There's more demand for deals than there is supply. And that's the benefit here. What people always ask, well, why would they buy this from me if they could have just gotten it themselves? Well, if you have it under contract, that means they didn't
Yep.
get it. You're the only one that has that property under contract. And if you locked it up at the right price and you use the strategy to where you have the data that proves it's a deal, and you use the reverse REI strategy, it's going to be easy to dispo, because there's going to be you're going to be able to prove very easily to your buyers what that property's worth. So your disposition, the side that a lot of people struggle on, and what typically the reason why you're failing at disposition is, yeah, maybe you haven't built buyers lists enough, you haven't built those relationships, but likely it's because you're not using 4-star comps. You're just looking for properties and areas, and then you have a bunch of data for houses that maybe have sold, but they weren't renovated, or they were renovated and they were fixed and flipped a year ago, or maybe the house is a mile away, the comp you're trying to use, right? So the reverse RS strategy layered with the 4-star comp strategy, with investor activity being the core of all of it, will help you find deals more easily, help you prove after repair value to yourself so you know what to offer. And also it'll help you to prove ARV to your buyers more easily, which will allow them to feel very good about writing you a $5,000 assignment fee.
Yes, sir.
Everything's connected. This is a deal.
Yep. You want to drop that link in the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. That is a deal. We will drop that link in the chat for you. Even if you don't have privy, you can access this. But I hope you do and you take advantage of the one of the last chances to get 30% off the annual and grandfathered in to this pricing. There was some confusion earlier in the chat if you're grandfathered in with the monthly, and you are not. You are grandfathered in when you purchase the annual. Is that correct, Benson?
That is correct. If you're on the monthly, then if the team decides to change the monthly cost, then you'll have be able to stay on monthly, but it could change and go up. The other thing that you're going to get when you're on the annual plan is grandfathered in at the two new features that are coming, our long-term rental data set, as well as Um, can you pause the screen for a second? I
Yeah.
want to show you guys something real quick, um, as well as our short-term rental data set.
Yeah, this is actually really cool. Is this what you were showing Corianne and I after we got off last week?
Yeah,
Oh, this is going to be exciting.
yeah. So one of the things that we're launching here in a bit, you guys, our team is beta testing it, is a whole new data set that will allow you to find rental data on larger scale. And if you're doing anything that has to do with subject to, if you're doing anything that has to do with BRR or anything that has to do with rentals, right? Um, you know, subleases, um, subject to anything where you're looking at cash flow, then this new data set is going to be really, really important for you.
And this won't be involved if you're currently just a monthly plan holder, right?
You'll be able to get it, but you'll have to pay more for it. It'll be an upsell.
But if I'm an annual plan holder, I'll get it.
If you're an annual plan holder, you're going to get it for free.
Ooh. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so you can share it again, please.
Okay.
So this is our testing site, you guys. So right here, if we wanted to find right here where it says long-term rentals, this is a new filter we have. If I click long-term rental, we can change like how we measure how good a long-term rental is. So we can adjust the cap rate up or down. We can look off of annualized return, cash on cash return, or gross yield. And if I click run search on this, it's going to show me some results. And it's basically, it's going in and it's looking at the market rents. And this property was flagged as a potential opportunity. So it's got between a 10 and 11% gross yield, 6% cap rate. Was it 2.9 to $3,000 per month is the rents. And if you scroll down here, then we'll be able to see that this is the rental data. In some areas, we'll have higher amounts of rental data than others. And so we just partnered up with the largest rental data provider company in the whole US. So this is going to be launched. You're going to get this for free.
Wow, that is so cool.
And then once this engine is built, then we're going to be adding in the Air DNA data, which is for short-term rentals. And then you'll be able to look at a property from both the long-term rental perspective, short-term rental, as well as everything we've been doing up to this point, which is buying houses at a discount for wholesale, fix and flip, any other creative deal structure as well.
Nice. Benson Vince asked in the chat, where does he get his bonuses when he signs up with code DANG5?
We'll have to send those with you separately. So um, I did give my team the link to the membership area. Okay. And so if you didn't get that, then you just have to ask them and they'll give you that link. And then I will look at anybody who has DMG5 because nobody else is getting this last special. And we'll send out an email with that link to the members area.
Okay. Wonderful. Yeah, guys. So just be on the lookout in your email. Where will it be coming from? What can they look out for? Team Privy?
It'll be a Team Privy email.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. All righty, guys. Well, this is the last time we're going to see you before the promo ends. So I hope you got a bunch of value out of tonight. This will be available for replay. I know this was more of like a heady, informative one. So you will be able to watch this on Jamil's YouTube channel under the live section. Jamil said, I can comp a property in 30 seconds. We will actually be comping this Sunday. So tune in. Jamil is going to be comping all of your properties.
Nice.
So come and find out what you should
Is
offer.
Jamil actually here?
Yeah, he's in the chat.
Oh.
That's the little orange J. That's Jamil.
Hey, Jamil. Hello, Mr. DMG.
We miss you, Jamil. He's hopping on his Astro flipping call here in a couple minutes. But yeah, guys, tune in on Sunday for Straight Outta Compin. Make sure that you take advantage of code DAMG5 before tomorrow because that will be the very last day you can take advantage of the 30% off annual be grandfathered in and get all those bonuses. So I'll drop it for you one more time. And Benson, thank you for your time. As always, we appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Appreciate everybody being here. Um, let us know if you have any questions.
Awesome. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.